Hi and welcome to Slick Willy Fly. Today we're going to have a cup of coffee because it's early in the morning, so not my usual rum and coke. And what I'm doing is I'm enjoying making these little UV shrimp. It's classic Slick Willy, very few materials, super simple tie. This is for those days where I'm looking to have a little bit more flash, something a little bit more sparkly for lack of a better word. So I've tied them in 3 different sizes now. This in the vise is an 8. Here's a 6. And this is a 4. I'm going to probably put a side-by-side picture so you see it. And also, we're always talking about that mix and match colors, whatever color works for you, hook size, all that kind of stuff. So here it is, right here. Different colors, different hooks. And the one I'm going to tie now, I'm going to actually go to a whole nother color. I'm going to go to olive. So we can quickly talk materials. For materials, I'm going to probably do this on a size 4 hook, mustad hook, just so it's a little bigger so you can see it a little easier. For bead chain, I have silver, I have black, I have gold. I'm not sure yet which one. I'm most likely going to go to gold. So I like the color combo of olive and gold. I'm going to use olive bucktail, regular bucktail. I'm going to use this shrimp brush in olive. This is actually called I think it's called grass. This is called EP Shrimp Brush Grass Olive. It's the number 02 color code for them. And now here's again one of the options. So you can use just the brush and it's going to be a little bit more neutral, a little less flashy. Or like I'm going to do, because I want to build in a little bit more flash, so I'm going to use this little bit of Polar Chenille. This is a UV Polar Chenille that I'm going to wrap in with the brush. And it'll give me a little bit more of a flash. In this one I used a purple brush and I used black Polar Chenille, and I think that's a really cool combo right there. I think that looks great. And obviously black bead chain. For legs, I have a couple of different options of silly legs, olive or chartreuse, and again, they both look great. It's just a matter of what floats your boat or what makes you happy, and a little bit of angel hair in silver. So that's all the materials. I'm going to change the camera angle. I'm going to have another sip of my coffee. It's early in the morning. And let's tie a fly. Okay, let's pop in the right hook. And the one thing that I seem to always forget to talk about is thread. And because I'm going to tie an olive fly, I'm going to go with an olive Vivas thread. I personally like to use strong threads like a 6/0 or at least 140 denier. The one that I have today is not a 6/0, it's an 8/0 because I haven't made my way to the store. But yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on this hook before I start putting my thread on, so that'll help me not have to wait. I like having super glue on the hook so that the materials don't spin. Now I'm going to go slightly into the bend just to give this a little bit more of a shrimpy look to it, so when it sits in the water it's going to have a little bit more, the eyes and the what would be actually the mouth area are going to be a little bit more visible. I've decided to use gold bead chain because I do really like the combination of the gold and the olive. So anytime I cut bead chain, I use my cutters. And anytime I cut bead chain, you're gonna see here this little tag right there. I cut that little tag off. It probably doesn't make a bit of difference. I just happen to like the way it looks. So I'm just going to leave myself enough room to make a head and put in a weed guard. But like I normally do, it's usually the thickness of the bead chain is my location. A few wraps in both directions. Just making sure that I like the placement. Just like that, that comes out great. Remember, this fly is going to swim, if everything goes as planned, hook side up. And when I tie in my weed guard, it'll be on the bottom side of this hook. So I've done this so many times, I've explained this so many times. I did some basic X wraps in both directions until I felt like it was solid. I don't count my X wraps, 10, 12, 15 X wraps, whatever you need. But the important part is the figure eights, where I go under the bead chain and over the hook. And I'm exaggerating it here, but what that does is it cinches tight all those previous wraps. Alright, so the first material that I'm going to use is actually not a material I talked about. I have this little piece of leftover chenille, and again, here it's options. You can do chenille first, or you can do angel hair first. We're going to do angel hair first. I take it back. I'm just going to get a couple of pieces of angel hair, and I'm going to fold them over a few times. And this doesn't have to be pretty at all, but this little bit of flash, I think, makes a humongous difference when you're in the water. So I fold them over, I don't know, I think I folded it 3 times. And you could see that I'm not very far out the back of the hook here. And I'm just going to attach this into the bend of the hook, because I kind of want them to look up. And now I'm going to take the other half and I'm just going to fold it forward. And I'm going to lash those down right into the bend of the hook. And just to make sure that these are going to stay open and splayed, I'm going to go ahead and put a wrap under and make sure they lash hard. And now I could take my scissor, and usually what I do is I like to open the loops first, just so I see the actual length that I have. And once I feel like I've opened all the loops, then I could take this and just kind of trim them. And I don't want them super long, but I definitely want them to stick out and be like, the mouth area, let's say. So now I am going to use a little bit of chenille. And in this case, I'm using pink just because I had a piece of pink from before. But I could have easily gone into my materials and got an olive. It's not really super visible. And to have a little pink hot spot doesn't bother me. I don't think it's going to actually show anyway. So I'm just going to do 3, 4, maybe 5 wraps. All this is doing is it's forcing my other materials to be a little bit splayed. So now I'm just going to capture this right there, this little bump that I made. Just like that. And now we could trim that off. Been tying flies all morning, or for a few hours. It's still early in the morning. The whole house is asleep. And I have stuff kind of spread out. Yes, alright. So my next material is going to be the silly legs. And now we have a decision to make. Chartreuse or olive. I'm going to go with olive. The chartreuse is not a bad option. That little, contrasting colors, I think really does look great. But I'm going to go ahead and make this fly a little bit more neutral. So I'm going to take maybe, hopefully grabbing only 3. You've heard me say in the past that I like to trim instead of yank and pull. 3. And this is quite simply just put it on the thread about as even as you can. They're going to get trimmed, so it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly even. And then when I put them on the hook, right on top, just like that, I do want to make sure that I put them on either side and that I kind of hold them in this little downward angle so that they actually get tied in on the side and in the orientation that I'm looking for. Just like that, nice and perfect. Yes, that's actually came out perfect. Silly legs, sometimes, I love the silly legs, but sometimes they're a pain to work with. So I like to find a place where they can just sit kind of out of the way. All right, so the next material that we're gonna throw in there are gonna be eyes. And for eyes, I have these homemade eyes. You have seen other videos where I make them. And for this one, I'm gonna go with one of my green eyes. So I make these out of hard mono, and I'll put a link on how I make these. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut this in half, again using my wire cutter, because the hard mono is actually really hard and will damage a regular pair of nice scissors. So now I'm just going to take one of these and I'm going to place them. I like them to be kind of longer than the actual traditional, like if you bought easy shrimp eyes, for example, nothing wrong with easy shrimp eyes. I think that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I personally like making my eyes. I think it's fun. Same as I like making my dubbing. I'm going to definitely have to do a video where I show how I make dubbing. But alright, so there's one. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and I want to make sure that I make it about as long. I love for these to be almost exaggerated, splayed out. I think that things like eyes are a great feature, a detail that just attracts attention. So I really like the eyes to be visible. Just like that. Alright. So now I need a tiny clump of bucktail, and I want to use, okay, so in the world of bucktail, if you take from the top of the bucktail, these are your straighter, longer, not hollow fibers. If you take from the bottom of a bucktail, these are hollow and will splay better. So I want to take from the bottom because I want these to splay a little. And I don't need a big clump. I need just enough that's going to wrap around the hook. And I'm going to pull out all my shorts here. I know you can't see it, but I've done other videos. And I'm assuming if you're making this kind of a fly that you've tied a fly before. Even though it is a very simple tie. So I've pulled out all the shorts. It's amazing how much comes out, how much this thins out. And now I'm going to work out the crazy longs. I'm just removing them. Got plenty of bucktail in this clump. And that's what it's going to look like. So now I need a length. The length has to be longer than the eyes, but shorter than the bead chain. That looks about what I want. So now I'm going to trim this up. And now what I'm going to do, since I've measured it, trimmed it, got a length, is I'm going to actually start at the bead chain so that I know that my length is going to be perfect. A couple of loose wraps. Now I'm going to work it all the way around this hook. If anything, I want to be exaggerated to the bottom here. And once I like that, now I'm going to lock that in nice and hard, working my way towards those eyes. And that right there is what I mean. I want it exaggerated to the hook side, because that's the part that's actually going to be up. I can use a needle to distribute here. And I personally think that that right there came out perfect. Making sure that the legs are in the right orientation. Somehow I have too many legs on one side. This leg is on the wrong side somehow. Silly legs can sometimes be a little bit of extra work, but man, are they worth it. Alright. Yes, perfect. So, next material. Next material is going to be to tie in my olive brush and my UV chenille. So I'm just going to grab a brush and I'm going to stroke away down as much as I can here. And I'm going to go ahead and tie this in. Just like that. And now I need to get a little piece of Cactus chenille. You don't need a lot. You probably get away with, 5 inches or so. It all depends on the size hook you're using and how much chenille you want. And now I'm going to tie this in. Okay, so what's important here is that you tie it in to where you want the wraps to begin, right behind that bucktail. And now, of course, you get your thread out of the way. So now we're not going to use the rotary function because of the silly legs. We're going to palmer everything towards the hook away from the bead chain, and you just start taking wraps. And how many wraps you take, that is entirely up to you. How thick do you want this? I don't personally want it super thick because I want this fly, got so much material in my mouth there. One day I'm going to learn to have a little cup of water sitting next to me so I can moisten my fingers. I want this fly to sink, and the more material you have, the more that the fly will want to float. So now I'm going to go under the eyes and first trying to only capture the brush behind the eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my wire cutters and cut off the brush, and then I'm going to give this a couple more wraps of my chenille. Wow, I almost made a mistake there. I almost grabbed my scissors. Remember that the brush is wire, so you do not want to cut that with scissors. You got to push down that little tag, make sure that you have that captured. Now I'm going to give this a couple more wraps of the polar chenille, just because. And now I'm going to capture the chenille. You could go forward with the chenille. I don't want to go forward with the chenille. I want to have a clean UV resin head. So I don't want any fibers up there. I'm going to put a weed guard in front of the eyes. So I want everything as much as possible going back. Just like that. I need a cup. I need a sip of my coffee. I don't want it to get cold. Now I'm going to trim off the remaining tag end here. Just like that. And now, before I do anything now, I'm just going to give it a whip finish just to make sure that I don't lose anything, because I'm going to dig out some of these trap fibers. And that's exactly why you do that. My thread just broke. Incredible. What timing. And this is why I really try to use stronger threads. You know, it could be a personal thing that I tie a little too hard. I don't know. I like to pull tight. Can't pull tight with little threads. Alright, so anyway, that's fine. That's going to sit right there. So now you could take anything. You could take a needle, you could take a brush, however you want to do it, but you need to dig out these trap fibers a little. And I like to dig in both directions. And you see it looked very neutral before, but now you actually see a little bit of flash built in there because I'm digging it out. Alright, that's good. So now very carefully making sure that you don't grab any legs or you really don't want to cut too much bucktail or anything like that. I go ahead and take a scissor and I cut straight down the center of the back, because by cutting away that material, this fly will swim a lot better. So literally straight down the center of the back. Try to just distribute a little. I come in here and I just give this thing a flat top, basically. And now the next step would be to trim the legs. I like to grab all the legs together, remembering that they are rubber legs. If you pull them too hard, they're going to end up too short. So I don't really want to pull them. And I would rather cut them a little bit long at this point, so that I make sure that they're not going to be too short. But I do want them together. Together is important. So there are the legs, and we'll figure out distribution of the legs a little soon, a little bit later into this. So now I need to go ahead and put my weed guard in. And like we were saying, the weed guard is going to sit hook side up. I didn't prep. I have a piece of hard mono that I'm going to dig out here. And again, we're going to use only wire cutters to cut hard mono, so you don't destroy your hard mono. So here's my piece of hard mono. I'm going to take a tool that's flat. I bought this at an electrical supply store. I'm going to make a little flat spot in this. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a little turn up, which just makes it easier for me to tie this in. I'm going to go ahead and tie it in right on top. Perfect little spot to grab the hard mono there. And I'm just going to lash this down and try to make it as olive as possible. And now we're going to do another whip finish. Hopefully we'll go better. And I'm not really worried about putting a second whip finish in now, because I'm going to put a little UV resin on this. But before I put UV resin, I'm just going to trim away some of these fibers that are going the wrong way, because I mean, it probably doesn't amount to anything. It probably doesn't make not even an iota of a difference in the overall effectiveness of this fly. But I just personally think it looks better. So now I'm going to go ahead and get all these fibers out of the way as best I can and put the smallest dab of UV resin you could possibly imagine on this thread. Give that a little second to soak in. Now what is a little bit important is that I'm happy with the location of that weed guard. The UV resin makes the fly kind of bulletproof, and it also makes this weed guard pretty bulletproof. The weed guard is obviously too long. We're going to trim it. that little hotspot shows. So that's kind of cool. So you can think about what color you want. I don't think it looks bad with pink, but maybe you would have preferred orange or olive or gold, whatever. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do, and it's hard to show, is I kind of like to trim these sides that look a little too long. So I kind of try to distribute the material evenly. And then what I do is I basically just imagine the angle, and I come at an angle from the eyes, and I just kind of give it a little, I start giving it that shape. Careful, really careful to not cut any rubber legs or any of the bucktail. That's the most important thing, is don't cut the rubber legs, don't cut the bucktail. I don't try to cut too much off the top, and I'll probably do a little bit of fine tuning on this fly. But that's pretty much the fly. Hi, and welcome back. So there it is, the UV shrimp in a size 4. I'm probably going to trim this up a little more. Hope you're enjoying these videos. For me, the fun part of the videos is when people like and subscribe, or when they leave me comments. That's the real reason I'm doing this. It's just for fun. It's a hobby for me. But I do fish these flies. I do enjoy making them, and I'm glad that you guys are watching. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Good luck catching, and see you on the next video.